So, Elephant Magazine, we're here with Dr. Deepak Chopra, which is, I think, by far the biggest moment of our life as a business. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
So we focus on yoga, organics, Buddha Dharma, meditation, the environment, subjects that are very familiar to you. And you, I think more than anyone, the last time I saw you was talking with Larry King, are successful to communicate with a Western audience. And I guess my first question would be, you're able to communicate these sort of ancient principles of Ayurveda or meditation to a Western audience in a way that doesn't come off as strange or confusing or cultish, but it's just accessible and practical. And I guess how, what's your secret? How do you do that?
Well, I think my principal attempt in everything I do is to give a clear scientific understanding of what consciousness is. I believe that consciousness is the key to all our problems, whether they're environment, whether it's personal well-being, whether it's social well-being, whether it's war, conflict, terrorism, social injustice, human rights, poverty. All these major issues that confront our civilization have really no solution if they're tackled by themselves. And that's what has been attempted. People think if you could bring enough money into developing nations, you'll eliminate poverty. Or if you have enough drugs, you'll get rid of AIDS. Or if you have a war on terrorism, you'll get rid of terrorism. Or if you have a war on drugs or cancer or whatever, you'll get rid of it.
There's famine.
Yeah, so none of these, there's famine.
Butterfly.
More food will cure famine. In fact, right now the warehouses of India are rotting with surplus food, but 30% of Indian children still starve every night. So there's no solution other than a true understanding of consciousness and a longing and desire on the part of individuals for personal transformation. I don't think there's such a thing as social transformation. If there's a critical mass of people who are going through personal transformation, that'll automatically heal the environment, it'll heal all the rift in our collective soul, it'll heal disease, get rid of poverty. It's the cure for AIDS and malaria. Not mosquito nets and not enough drugs. And that's because consciousness is the ground of being that simultaneously differentiates into perception, what we see out there, simultaneously also differentiates into cognition, our knowingness, into our moods and emotions, into our personal relationships, into our social interactions, into the environments that we generate and create around us, and also the way we interact with the forces of nature. I personally don't think we should be calling something the environment. That's a total misperception, because that in a way says there's a biological organism and then there's an environment.
Sure.
But the biological organism and the environment are two reflections of the same thing, which is consciousness. Those trees aren't trees, they're your lungs. If they don't breathe, you won't breathe, and if you don't breathe, they won't breathe. The rivers and waters aren't just rivers and waters, that's your circulation. If they're polluted, so are you, and if you're polluted, so are they.
Right.
So that's your, the air is not just the atmosphere, it's your breath. The earth is not just, the ground over there, it's your physical body, because you and the earth recycle all the time. So unless you have an emotional and spiritual relationship with your extended body, which you call the environment, which is a totally wrong word, there's not going to be any healing. And for that shift in perception, you have to have a shift in consciousness.
Well, you're referring to something that the Buddhists, I grew up in a Buddhist family, refer to as duality, and you say, I'm
That's
here
right.
in the environment.
Yeah, it's all this duality.
And then you don't care about the environment, or you are passionate about it, and will
right.
burn up SUVs because you care about it.
That's it. This whole dualistic thinking, mind and body is dualistic. There's no such thing as mind-body connection. They're the same thing. There's no such thing as a biological organism and the environment. They're the same thing. In fact, there's no such thing as me and you. The whole idea that you exist as a person is a total misperception of reality.
That's ego.
There's no such thing as a person. Your personal identity is provisional, impermanent, and constantly transforming. It is totally transient. So just to even have the idea that I exist as a person allows me to then see other people as persons. But that, of course, is the beginning of all this problem.
It's interesting to hear someone who's probably more famous than anyone we've interviewed say that, you don't exist as a solid entity.
Well, it's a fact that the personal identity is transient, permanent, impermanent, and provisional. I mean, I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, physically, emotionally, intellectually, or hopefully the same personality. If I was, I'd be doomed to eternal senility, wouldn't I?
Right.
Like
some people we know.
If you don't change, you're doomed.
Right. So how does that connect with your book? Was it called Ageless Body, Timeless Mind?
Ageless Body refers to the physical universe, and Timeless Mind refers to universal consciousness.
So that's not an attempt to preserve the solid entity and be young forever.
No, but if there is harmony of the elements and forces between what you perceive as your personal body and what you perceive as your universal body, then it's a biological fact that there's less entropy.
One thing that you were also talking about, the rivers and my circulation and the trees in my lungs, it reminded me of how you discuss God, which is, as a Buddhist, it's an idea that I've never been that familiar with. And it seems like your conception or your Hinduism's idea of God is sort of like Henry David Thoreau. It's very universal. It's inside the kingdom of God. It's within, that sort of thing. Can you just tell us how
God is as we are. God is our highest instinct to know ourselves. So when we're scared, then God is a protector. When we're achievers, God is a control freak, dysfunctional parent. When we're at peace, then God is the peace that passes understanding, that Christ talks about. When we are in the intuitive response ourselves, then God is the Redeemer. When we are creative, then God is the Creator. When we are visionary, then God is the God of miracles, archetypal domains of consciousness that the Buddhists talk about, the peaceful and the wrathful deities, and all the, Buddhists talk about Nirmana Kaya, which is the physical realm, Sambhoga Kaya, which is the subtle realms, which includes all these non-local archetypal domains, and then Dharma Kaya, which is the field of Nirvana, which is beyond all duality. So as we progress in our own evolution, our image and our projection of God changes. But we must remember they're all projections. They're projections of ourselves. So, before you come around to ask the question, there's no God. You create God in your image. Unlike what Christians said, that God created us in His image, it's the other way around. We create God in our image. There is all experiences of God are projections, except the final one. When you're in the state of Dharmakaya or Nirvana or beyond duality, then you are God. So I used to be an atheist till I realized I was God.
Right. Huh. That's a good quote. You said there's this quote, I think, in the Bible that said God says, "Be still with me," or something.
No, be still and know that I am God. That's Psalm 44 in the Old Testament.
Yeah, I was just reading. You were talking about that, and that's the way to connect with. Well, not to connect with God, but to be one with.
To be one with the universal consciousness.
So this is a different idea than the Christian God?
I think if you look at any religion, Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism or Islam, you'll find all the 7 stages of God that I mentioned, because all the 7 stages are channeled in particular stages of consciousness. So I think the best way to think of God is actually the word itself: generation, organization, and delivery. G stands for generation.
G-O-D.
Yeah,
Right.
Organization, delivery. But delivery also includes destruction, so you can reconstruct.
Right.
You know, so these are the three forces in nature.
Right.
You know, creation, organization, dissolution, and then creation again.
That sounds sort of like the process of meditation as well.
Yeah, it's the
thoughts.
process of life. Yeah,
Right.
it's subatomic particles.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you were involved in that movie, What the Bleep.
No, I
You
wasn't.
weren't.
No. I just finished my
thought they
own movie
interviewed you
called
or
How to
something.
Know God. It's just coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Fox has funded that movie.
Wow. So I guess a final question, because I know you're busy. So the basic sort of bottom line of our magazine, Elephant, is trying to help people through whatever sort of gateway, through whatever is their passion, be of benefit to the world and to other people. On a basic level, what would be your advice for whatever people are out there doing, if they're selling insurance, like this big insurance convention, or whatever, in a practical way, whether we practice meditation or not, how can we be of benefit?
I think you can be of benefit by constantly engaging on self-reflection, asking yourself what's your real identity and how do you wish to actualize your deepest intention. Who are we as a magazine, as human beings that are creating this magazine, and what do we want to achieve with this? And then to look for like-minded people and to engage in reflection and dialogue with them, and to hang out with the right crowd. You know, just because they're an insurance company reaching a lot of people
Sure.
doesn't mean anything.
Sure.
Okay, hang out with the right crowd.